So, Jacob, what are we going to be talking about today?
Today we are talking about the final season of Game of Thrones and what is to potentially come.
So that's what we're discussing. Welcome to NerdOut. Okay, so NerdOut. So yeah, I know we just kind of popped out of nowhere. Me and Jacob had a crazy idea, and we basically was like, yeah, let's create a channel in which we can nerd out about different things, talk about different things, play games, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, we've noticed that a lot of people in our lives just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
So we thought, you know what? Rather than annoying the people we know, we're gonna annoy everyone.
Yeah, might as well put it on the internet. So, you can expect things like us playing video games, us discussing films. You might find me more than often not talking about like Warhammer, D&D, stuff like that. Well, both of us D&D actually.
And then I will be focusing quite heavily, although we share Marvel and Game of Thrones, I have more knowledge.
You have more knowledge on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Marvel, we're equal.
Yeah, very. I think it differs on what Marvel character we're going for.
Yeah.
DC, potentially me, however, it will mostly be moaning about it.
Yeah.
Star Wars, I'd say, again, equal moaning about Disney. And then we've also got, like, for instance, Lord of the Rings with the Amazon TV show, stuff like that, bringing all that back. That
yeah, Harry Potter and everything like
that. Yeah, so we've got, pretty much anything nerdy. However, if it's anime, I won't touch it.
I might touch it.
I won't. So
you don't like touching many things. Anyway, so back to the point at hand. So what we're discussing today. So we will be discussing Game of Thrones Season 8. Jacob, this is your speciality, so I'd like to hand over to you just for the start of this whole thing.
Right, so the whole idea, there's a lot to talk about with Season 8, so we've tried to simple it down into a few things. And the main idea of Season 8 is, well, with Game of Thrones in general, there'll be a lot of death. We've seen it all before. Sometimes you don't want to get too attached to a character because, they die. And we thought a good way to start this one off is the whole idea of subplots and like the main plot finishing and coming to its death. So one of the main ones, although technically deemed as a subplot, is the dragon has 3 heads.
Yes, so as you can tell, at the end of Season 7, if you haven't seen any of Game of Thrones, by the way, spoilers, turn off, go away. We don't want you. We hate spoilers just as much as you do.
We even do sign language in our videos.
Apparently so. Anyway, so the dragon has 3 heads. So at the end of the season, we were left at the end of Season 7, we were left finding out that Jon Snow is in fact Aegon Targaryen and Daenerys' relative. But also, the dragon has 3 heads, so that comes down from, if you don't know yet, that comes down from there is always 3 Targaryens or 3 dragons.
Yeah, and that whole idea as well was reinforced when Daenerys had 3 dragons, specifically Viserion, Rhaegal, and most importantly Drogon. And as we know, for instance, Viserion has turned, but the main idea of the dragon has 3 heads going into the final season is the whole Daenerys and Jon Snow taking their relationship to the next level and therefore having a child to be the 3rd Targaryen. And as we also know now, it will be a legal full-blood Targaryen.
Yeah.
Because he is no longer, he is Jon Snow, but obviously he will find out through both Samwell Tarly and the 3-Eyed Raven. Sorry, I can't pull myself to say Bran anymore. I don't like Bran. You'll find that out. I can't wait for that guy to die. But so they will find out that he is actually Aegon Targaryen. His dad is Rhaegar and his mum is Lyanna Stark. Would you like to expand on that at all?
But no, basically this whole thing now, so with the dragon has 3 heads. Yes, there's a lot of death in Game of Thrones, but this is also kind of a birth. There's something being brought to life here. We're seeing the death of an entire subplot that's been running from start to finish so far in Game of Thrones. So realistically, we're going to be seeing a baby brought into just not the mic. We're going to be seeing a baby brought into this new world, this broken world, and that's going to change things up, because then we have a full-blooded Targaryen, we have one half-blooded Targaryen, and two full-blooded, because Daenerys and the child.
Yeah, well, the reason as well, like, obviously Targaryens are very well known to be incestuous and keep it in the family. You know, as you do. You know, Lannisters. But the whole idea of this whole being death of the one plot, when you think it's not a physical death, like no one is physically dying, we'll get onto that though, is Jon Snow as a name is dying. He may choose to keep the name Jon Snow, but you've got the metaphorical sense of he is not going to be the Jon Snow we know. He is going to be Aegon Targaryen. People will have to get over that. You have to have the Northern Lords will have to come to terms with it. The Starks will have to come to terms with it. Daenerys is probably going to be the one that takes the longest to come to terms with it. I mean, she just slept with her nephew. And everything she has been fighting for is because she is the trueborn heir, and she's just realised that she isn't anymore. And she just slept with the guy that actually is. And then there's also the belief in real death, where Jon Snow might actually die and the rebirth of him. So like there's likely going to be one physical and one metaphorical death in the Dragon Has Three Heads storyline.
We'll move on to the death later,
yeah,
however.
We will, and what we will talk about now is the subplots that are finishing. And a good one to start is Clegane's Bowl.
Yes, the Clegane's Bowl, the two best fighters in Westeros, other than, you saw what happened in the Mountains fight against...
Red Viper.
Red Viper. Thank you very much, Jacob. As you can tell, he's the bigger Game of Thrones fan here. I just really enjoy it as a program. But no, so one of the best fights that's probably going to come out of this entire series, the Hound versus the Mountain. Man on man, macho on macho, two beasts of men clashing steel together.
Yeah.
And so, here's the thing. We know that so they're brothers. And we know that they've always quarreled, but they've always been evenly matched on a fighting level. The Hound has the technique, the Mountain has the strength.
And I think as well, you've also got the whole build-up where we saw in, I think it was maybe episode 2 or 3 of the first season, where they truly face off when the Mountain goes to kill the gay Tyrell. I can't remember.
I know who you're on about.
And then the Hound is the one to get in the way, and you can tell how much that really angers the Mountain, and there's such a hatred there. And I truly believe that this will be the death of the Mountain. I think it has to be, but it will also be the Hound getting over his fear of fire, because I think he will have to use fire to kill the Mountain.
There's been such a massive build-up over this whole thing, especially during the fight, the Hound versus Beric, for example. Beric's Sword of Fire, like he slightly overcame his fear of fire when fighting Beric, because at the end of the day, the Hound has still won the fight. But the Mountain he's no normal man. We've learnt that, and now he is zombified to absolute hell.
Yeah.
He is practically he is a monster. The Hound still has humanity, but where monsters have strength and inhumanity, they have almost a red mist. So I think the Mountain's anger and the Mountain's almost his red mist and how he so sharply reacts to certain situations will be his downfall, and that's where the Hound will come in and take the kill.
I reckon, especially after we've seen someone almost defeat the Mountain. Well, he did really defeat the Mountain. It was the Viper's cockiness that lost him his life.
Yeah.
I reckon the fact that we've seen the Mountain almost lose in the past, which in theory made him this zombie, actually gives the Hound that increased confidence, because he has seen the Mountain fall in battle, and now he's seen that there is a weakness there, and the fact that because he is this like Frankenstein monster now, he doesn't think for himself, so the technique's not going to be there. It's going to be he will just go to hit you, and
he will take the hits.
As I've always said, tactics beat like strength.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I can't wait to see that fight go down.
So moving on from the Clegane's Bowl, we could talk about these kind of things all day long, but we do have a limited time period because, quite frankly, we don't want to waffle on too long, which we already have.
Yeah.
So moving on to the Drowned God and his champion, Jacob.
Yeah, so as we've seen by the end of, well, midway through the last season, we saw Euron Greyjoy take Yara, and we know that Theon is going to prove himself now to take back his sister. And I do think in this battle we will lose likely Yara, because to be fair, there's a potential that she is already dead. Like, Euron is a complete sociopath, he's a psychopath, he's a dick. Like, there's no other way to describe it. And funny enough, Theon doesn't have one. So I think going into this, it is the fight for Pike. You're not fighting for legacy. Well, they are fighting for legacy. They're fighting for honor, and of which Euron has none. And again, I think it's going to be like the Hound versus the Mountain. It will be a case of tactics versus brawn. Theon now has started thinking for himself, and I think he's going to be more confident because of it. And he's seen that he's losing his men. He's seen that he's losing, like, he almost, I mean, Jon Snow could have very well killed him. And I think he's now going into it in the right headspace. And that, I don't think it's going to be a long fight. I reckon it's going to be pretty short. I reckon it will be a case of Euron is pretty much winning for the most of it. And I reckon it's going to be like the Red Viper versus the Mountain. I reckon Euron's going to get cocky, and I reckon he's going to lose his life because of it.
Very much so. Now, a lot now, Euron Greyjoy and everything like that actually links into what we're going to be talking about next, the Gold Company. But the Gold Company, we also believe, merges in with the Valonqar. Now,
yes.
Jacob, could you explain with what's going on with the Gold Company for me?
So, Euron has gone to pick up the Gold Company. Obviously, this is the military company of Essos that is owned by the bank, well, the Iron Bank of Braavos. And we know that Cersei has made a deal with the bank to take on these. So they have mass amounts of fighters, some from Blackfire, which is ex-Targaryen. You've got elephants. They're going to be fun to watch. It's pretty much like watching, is it the Eastern Men from Lord of the Rings?
The Easterlings, yes.
Yeah, it's pretty much going to be like watching them. And I think because of this, it is going to lead into the Valonqar, which is the prophecy given to Cersei that she will marry a king, have 3 kids, they will all die, and then she will get killed by her lover, aka Jaime.
See, how we think that the Golden Company merges into the Valonqar is now the Golden Company have been sent north to basically pick up the pieces of whatever's left of either the Knights' army or the army in the north. So what's going to happen there is, we believe, because Jaime's now is now riding north to help them out against their fight against the Knight's army and the Night King himself. Jaime's going to see this unfold. He's going to see the Golden Company attack the Northmen and attack all of its allies, and that's going to push Jaime over the edge. We believe Jaime is on the brink of his faith with Cersei and his trust in her.
He's already proved that he has, like, he's gone against her. He's left everything behind. So it's proved that his hatred is growing for her, but I reckon it still needs that final push to make him do the deed. And I do believe he will be the one to kill her. It's been foretold for so long. And I think it will be such a great end to Jaime's character, who has started out as a character that you just despise. You hated him for the first. And it was really when he met Brienne that you started to see another side to Jaime, and he evolved. And again, it's the idea of killing off another subplot. Like, we've wanted this for so long. Finally, we're going to see it. I reckon this is a guarantee. There are so many things that we can't guarantee in the final season of Game of Thrones, but I feel like Jaime killing Cersei is one thing that I expect to happen.
Okay, well, we'll move on to that later, but for now, here comes a little section in the Let's Discusses, and also in quite a few other larger episodes on NerdOut. So here's time for Coffee with Will.
back, and for, as we just had coffee with Will, so it's time to talk about more than just the subplots finishing. Rather now moving on to the main plot of Game of Thrones. Not just who will be sitting on the Golden Throne.
Iron Throne. Where did you get golden from? It's probably from the Golden Company, wasn't it? But anyway, back to the point at hand.
I'm the Game of Thrones nerd, and I just got that wrong.
You are, and you got it wrong. But anyway, back to the point at hand. So we're going to be talking now about Bran and the Night King. A massive theory that's been going around everywhere that Bran is in fact the Night King. Bran is the man, or boy, shall I say, who started it all off.
Yeah. So this theory, at the time that I first saw it, I thought it was a bit weird. However, the more I grew to hate the Three-Eyed Raven, the more it actually seemed logical. When you look at Bran in the last season as the Three-Eyed Raven, and the season before, in fact, when he goes back in time, you actually see times where he affects what's going on around him.
Yeah.
You've obviously got the hold the door moment with Hodor, and then you've also got the time where Ned Stark is about to go into the tower to see his sister, and he actually hears something, which is Bran. So the belief of this theory is that Bran actually goes to the Tree of Destiny, as we're calling it, because I can't remember what it's called.
It's one of the trees of the old gods. They're all dotted everywhere.
He goes there and tries to go back in time to convince the children of the forest not to make the Night King. However, in doing so, he realizes that he's seen the man he has become before, and the man he has become is the guy that ends up being stabbed into the Night King.
Being stabbed with dragon glass to become the Night King.
And before he can walk out of that body back into modern day, he actually gets stabbed by the dragon glass there and then, which means he is trapped in the past, and you see modern day Bran's eyes go blue, and then he himself is trapped in the past as the Night King. And the belief with this is that the Night King, unlike all of the other White Walkers, will not be able to be killed by Valyrian steel. So you go to hit him and it's going to shatter, whereas you kill another White Walker, they'll be fine. The belief with this is to kill him, you must first kill Bran.
It has a very similar concept to Voldemort and his Horcruxes. So you destroy a Horcrux, it weakens Voldemort. With this one, you kill and destroy Bran. You kill an anchoring point that the Night King uses to exist in the current world. It's how he's able to stay one step ahead of everyone else, because he has been living beyond the wall in someone else.
And it is completely the Harry Potter theory where Voldemort had to kill Harry first for Harry to kill Voldemort. You've also and the fact that Voldemort was always in his head. This is why the Night King will always have contact with Bran, and it's that contact that gets stronger and stronger as they get closer. And I believe for the Night King to truly have full power, he needs Bran. He needs to actually make a connection with Bran. However, you've got to break that connection, and that involves killing Bran, potentially with dragonglass. I don't think Valyrian steel will work on him. I reckon it's a straight stab with dragonglass done by Jon himself.
So that takes us on to the last section, well, one of the last two sections, deaths. So we're going to be seeing a lot of deaths in Season 8. We're probably going to... So, death of Bran, as we've discussed. Death of the Night King, hopefully, maybe. We don't even know.
We've already spoke about potentially the death of the Hound, the death of Cersei.
The death of the Mountain.
Yep. Obviously, although we've said that the Hound will win, it looks like that fight could lead to both of them dying.
That could either be by extensive injury, or the Hound gets killed by the Night King trying to help the fight against the White Walkers.
Because I believe he won't. I won't believe he'll survive the fight, but he will be so wounded he will try to carry on fighting, but it just doesn't work for him. But we've also got people. Some people believe, and this is the big one. Jaime will die. I think the belief is he will die in the arms of the person he loves. We have two very different opinions on how he will die.
Yes.
I believe that he will ask Arya to kill him after he kills Cersei, and she will accept because he took someone off her list, and it's making up for the name.
However, I believe that he will be killed by Arya, but not under those circumstances. He is still a name on the list. I believe Arya will have no mercy against Jaime. Yes, Jon and the others might take a little bit of not sympathy. What was it? They might.
They'll be twisted by Tyrion. Tyrion will be the one that keeps him alive.
And they were, but Arya won't listen to Tyrion. No matter what his silver tongue says, Arya won't listen to Tyrion. I believe Jaime will stay alive for as long as the fight against the White Walkers exists, but the minute he is of no use to anyone else, Arya will dispatch him, wear his face, kill Cersei.
My only thing about that is he is not on her list. I think the reason, if she is to kill him, other than him asking, is because I think she hates Bran. I think she's going to end up hating Bran. I think they all will. Other deaths, a big one is Jon Snow.
But Jon Snow, but we've discussed he will possibly die and then be rebirthed.
Yeah. Be reborn under the name Aegon, and I reckon it will be the death of Beric Dondarrion that brings him back to life, giving him that final life force of his. Without Forest of Mere, Beric won't be able to come back.
Yep.
Now, Daenerys Targaryen.
Unfortunately, we have a firm belief she will die. She will either die at the hands of her own dragon or die at the hands of the Night King.
I personally believe it will be Viserion that lands the killing blow to Daenerys, and then Viserion will die after, probably from Drogon. I believe Rhaegal will die as well. And before we go on to what happens because of these deaths, there is one death in particular that I think is going to go down in style.
Yep.
He wasn't in the last season, but Diana Harris, I reckon, will be returning with the Golden Company, and he's going to have one amazing death.
Yes.
He's going down in style.
If not going down in style, he's going down, and he's probably going to be bringing down a few hundred people with him.
Oh, it's going to be some spectacular death.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's going to be a lot of spectacular deaths. We probably think Tyrion will also die. For reasons I'm not quite sure how or why.
I believe Tyrion will die, and I don't reckon we'll see it. I reckon he will die an unsung hero. He will do something spectacular that people don't even see him. Well, we as the audience see him do, but other people don't.
Yep.
I reckon it will be a distraction for someone else to get a kill on the Night's King, or trying to distract them away from killing Daenerys or something like that. But I reckon he will actually die off screen.
Yeah.
And we will find out when the characters find out.
Yeah. But anyway, because we do have limited time, let's move on to the location hands-out. So, what in Westeros is going to belong to who?
There's a lot of debate about this. For instance, with Dawn is still owned by the Sand Snakes. Yes, we've seen a few of them die, but we know that Oberyn had about 20... I want to say 27, I could be wrong, but it was in that with Bastards, so the Sand Snakes still own Dawn.
Yes.
We know Sansa, if she survives, will take Winterfell. King's Landing, after Daenerys
burns it to the ground.
If they keep that as the capital, I believe Jon will take it. Because I think when he has the child with Daenerys, her dying wish will be hold the throne until the child is of age. And because of that, Jon is loyal, he's honest, like George from Love Island.
Yeah.
I reckon...
I don't get that reference.
Yeah, I'll show you later. I reckon he will keep the throne on that promise, because he is Ned Stark. He may not be Ned Stark's son, but he is the living embodiment. Yes. Because I believe that Arya will get wounded at some point, I believe that she will take after her mother, and I reckon she will take Riverrun. Whether or not she keeps the Stark name or moves it to Arya Tully is a different matter.
We already know that she practically owns the twins.
Yeah, if it's announced that, if it's fully announced to the people of the Riverlands that she was the one that killed the Freys, no, everyone's going to be rallying for her, aren't they?
They will go straight to her. They broke House
Yeah.
Oath. They broke House Oath, so
Yeah.
I don't see why even all of the people in the north, all the Riverlands, would back Arya's claim upon the Riverlands.
We also have the Eyrie, and unfortunately that's obvious. I don't think Robert Arryn's going to die.
No.
I really want him to.
He's too much of a small character for them to get rid of to have any impact.
Yeah, they know people just don't care about him,
Yeah.
and so a death would just be meaningless.
But even if he did die, then well, who cares really?
Obviously, Stormlands, I don't think Gendry's dying, and
No.
I definitely think Jon Snow will legitimise him as a Baratheon. I think that's the most obvious one.
Yeah.
Highgarden and Casterly, to me, are hard to give away. Highgarden, I think it all depends on Samwell Tarly, because he is definitely the most likely option
and
for
he
that.
will probably be the last living noble within the area.
Yeah, and that's especially because I personally think Old Town is going to get ruined.
Yeah.
I don't reckon Maesters will be necessary afterwards. So because of that, Samwell Tarly for Highgarden is my personal opinion. And Casterly, as we've said about Jaime and Tyrion's deaths, there are 3 potential people for this.
Yeah.
Brienne of Tarth, not because she's not a banner of that of their house, however, because of how and Jaime's weird relationship, Jaime could grant her it. Bronn, because both Lannister brothers owe him a castle.
And it better be a pretty big castle.
Yeah.
Granted, it's currently occupied by the Unsullied.
However, because Jaime will be siding with Daenerys, yeah, it doesn't. I think it's pretty much down to that. However, my personal favourite, I would really love to see Podrick hold Casterly Rock.
Yes.
Especially if he lets Tyrion in on his secret of how he managed to pleasure all those whores.
But there is the possibility, Tyrion being such sleaze, there possibly is a Lannister bastard out there.
There could potentially be a Tyrion bastard out there. However, I reckon if there is,
it will be unknown.
It will be completely unknown. And to be fair, I don't think Tyrion cares.
No.
And I believe there will be 1 extra seat of power this season. I believe by the end of it, they will build up Hardhome, because the Wall, anyone north of the Wall, wildlings won't matter. You are free folk now. You are all part of Westeros. So I reckon Hardhome will have a castle built up there, and Tormund will take north of the Wall.
Yeah. So that's what we believe, and that's what we've discussed about Game of Thrones Season 8. We would like to see what you have to say on it, so put it in the comments. If there's anything else you'd like us to discuss, TV shows, films, games, anything like that, put them in the comments as well. If you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up. If you don't like what we're doing, give us a thumbs down. Tell us why you don't like it or what we should do better. If you really like it, subscribe to our channel. It will mean a lot to us. We've just got it started. But anyway, thank you for watching Let's Discuss Game of Thrones Season 8. I've been Tyler.
I've been Jacob, and this has been